Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. We've got some really humid weather today. We're going to be having temperatures in the hundreds today, so we have to be very careful with the weather. So please be careful. For the people that are in the hurricane, stay safe and be well. Stay inside and, I hope nothing happens to anybody because you never know. Hurricanes are no fun. Hurricane Sandy followed me all the way up here. Had to take my name and follow me all the way up here and then proceed to decorate the neighborhood with my roofing. I tell you. Okay, you're going to have to grease a standard muffin tin because we're making Jumpstart banana muffins. These don't have nuts in them. They're just going to have bananas in them. You're going to have to melt 1 stick of butter. I have that on now. We're going to have to heat the oven to 375. And listen, that apple upside down cake, we've had it for breakfast, we've had it for dessert, we've had it for snacks. Scratch that. Okay, scratch that. We had it for breakfast, desserts, and snacks. We're enjoying that cake. A pineapple upside down cake isn't as good as this one. This one is like way up there. If you're going to, if 100 and perfect is here, we're past that. It's way up there. It's really just that good. All right, I told you what you have to do now. I'm going to put the liquid together first before we get to the dry. So you need a 1/2 cup of milk. Come on. Almost there. Just a midget more. All right, and to that milk, you're going to add 1 large egg. Okay. Oh, you want to mash bananas in the stew, okay. I want to beat this egg first before we go much further. Oh, I'm sorry. You're not even seeing what I'm doing. I put a 1/2 cup of milk in here. I've got the egg. I'm beating the egg because I'm going to add hot butter to it. And then we're going to mash some bananas up. And the reason you beat the egg before you add the hot milk is your egg will curdle. So you want to blend it in with that milk. So when you pour this hot butter in it, you don't have a problem. Now you need to mash up 2 bananas. I have ripe bananas, so I'm going to be mashing them up. Like I said, I have really ripe bananas. And they're getting riper by the day, so I said I've got to do this. When you use overripe bananas, you get a much nicer sweet taste to your muffins. Or you make a banana nut cake. It has a much better flavor. Get my masher out. You see when they're really ripe, they mash really well. When they're green, or you just bought them, you have to mash them twice as hard to break that sugar, to get that sugar to come out. When they're like this, you don't have to worry about it. You're going to put this into your milk mixture. day my tempering machine comes in, I'll show you it. I'm really excited. Because what it does is, I'll explain all about tempering machines and why I got this one. I actually paid $200 for this one. But it's going to be well worth it because of the way it's done. I remember when my mother and father and my brothers and I made toffee candy. They were pulling it and stretching it, and it looked like a spider web, and we yank and pull. It was a lot of fun. But boy, did we eat it up in a hurry too. All right, now this you're going to put on the side. And we're going to need that fork because that's what we mix with to make sure we don't overmix them, because if you overmix your muffins, we're going to collapse. Now also remember that I am going to be using homemade baking powder, and we're going to see how this works because I've done cornbread, I did the cake, and I did the biscuits, and it worked. Now I got to get past the muffins next, and then that way I won't have to buy the baking powder that has aluminum in it, and I can get away from it because I'm afraid aluminum attacks the brain. I'm not sure, but I think it does, and as we get older it becomes a real issue. Now we're going to put 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour in a bowl. Now you're going to add 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. I know you haven't seen me making bread, but when it's 100 degrees, I'm going to do every shortcut I can. But I will be shortly doing it again. As soon as the temperature gets up, I can roll it. All right, we are going to add 1 cup of sugar. Salt, we need 1/8 of a teaspoon. If you do not have new measuring spoons and you have the old one, just fill 1/4 of a teaspoon and that'll be 1/8. And we need 2 teaspoons of baking powder. We're going to see if this works. God, if it works, I'd be so happy. You're going to have to mix this together. All right, now you're going to make a well in the middle of this, okay? This is where people make a lot of mistakes and they wonder why it doesn't rise. That's why they're adding so much baking soda and baking powder to sit there and get the lifts. The flours are made in such a way, and the yeast, that you won't make a mistake. It's actually set for people who really are not real good at doing this stuff. But at one time, you had to know. You really did. So you make a well in the center. You're going to pour all of this mixture that we made, liquid mixtures, right in just like that. Now I will make this recipe again sometime, and I will add nuts to it. Now you're going to take your fork. Watch carefully, because this is where people make the mistakes. If you mix this all the way, this is where everybody makes their mistakes with muffins, and they won't even try because they say, I can't. They keep collapsing. Now you can see this is not completely mixed, right? I'm stopping right here. You see that? I can look at the bottom. I've got the bottom. So now we're going to put it in to the tins. Now this makes 18 standard ones. Now if you want to make sure that your second batch rises, stick the leftover batter in the refrigerator. It'll be cold, and then when you go to put it in there, they will come up, believe you me. Remember, I am not using baking soda. I am just using baking powder that I made. I want to see if this is going to work. If you want to use baking soda, they also add a teaspoon of baking soda. But like I said, I'm trying to just use baking powder. If I can use my homemade, then I get away from that aluminum. I will be a happy camper. And do they know what aluminum does to the body? Oh no, but give them another 50, 60 years, and then the government will probably say, oh, we are going to have to take this out of the market because of da-da-da-da. And you see, it's still mixing though. I quit. You see how the flour and stuff, it's still mixing. In spite of me stopping. So if you mix it all the way, that's why you end up with those problems. Now, I don't know how high these are going to rise, but if this rises, I've got it. Then I'm going to be happy. I can get rid of the baking powder, and I can make my own baking powder. Because if you go into the health food, I checked the health food one, and guess what? It has aluminum in it too. Isn't that nice? Well, this is not going to make 18. I'm going to have some big muffins here, I think. I have a little bit of batter left, but not much. So I'm going to get 12, and we'll see if these rise. If they do, I'm going to have a mess in my oven if it rises too high. So if you're using the baking soda, be aware you're going to get 18. And these are going to cook for about 20 minutes, 17 to 19 minutes. See, I used my baking powder, and it did work on the cornbread, it did work on the cake, it does work on the biscuits, so I just want to see if I can get, so that means I can make cakes, and I can sit there and use just baking powder instead of baking soda. And if I want to make buttermilk biscuits, use buttermilk, but still leave the, use the baking powder and minus the baking soda. Or you could just, I guess use just baking soda, you know. But anyway, I know if I mix my homemade baking powder with my baking soda, I have a problem when I use both of those combinations together. So I think I'm just going to be able to use baking powder whenever I make something, once I make my own. So I'll see you in about 20 minutes. Okay, they're done, and we're going to see if just using my homemade baking powder works. It does. they rose. You see, it did work. I might not have to buy baking powder anymore at the store, and it looks like homemade does work. Yay! Don't worry, when I have to make some, I'll give you the recipe. I'll show you how I put it together, and we'll enjoy using homemade baking powder that does not have aluminum in, which is a mineral that we don't know what it does to our body, but to make sure that we can keep our health as long as possible and let our body do what it has to do without us adding stuff to it. So listen, you take care. Bye-bye.